I didn't realize something was wrong at first. It started with a weird phone call from my cousin Martha. She asked if I'd managed to pay off the mechanic yet and whether I still needed help. I paused, confused. What mechanic? I asked. She hesitated. Ashley said your car broke down outside Greenville. That the engine blew and you didn't have the money for the tow or repairs. She said you were stranded. I've never even been to Greenville, I said slowly. What are you talking about? She said you were too embarrassed to ask anyone yourself. I sent $600 through Venmo. I sat down at the kitchen table, my hand shaking slightly. Martha, I never asked for money. I don't even know what you're talking about. But she wasn't the only one. Over the next 48 hours, I got calls and texts from 3 more family members and 2 old friends. Every single one had a different story. One thought I needed help with a vet bill because my cat had been poisoned. Another thought I needed money for medical tests I supposedly couldn't afford. One said I was couch surfing after losing my job and needed a hotel room for the night. The amounts ranged from $100 to $900. Some used Venmo. Others Cash App. One mailed actual cash in an envelope. I pulled out a notebook and started writing it all down. Names, dates, amounts, and the exact excuses they'd been given. When I added it all up, it came to $4,980. $5,000. Gone. And all of it tied to my name. I felt sick. I hadn't asked a single person for a penny. I don't even like borrowing $20 from someone, let alone scamming them with fake emergencies. Whoever had done this was impersonating me. And I had a very bad feeling about who it was. Ashley. My niece, technically my husband Brian's niece, his sister's daughter. She was 23, clever, always glued to her phone, and not above bending the truth to get what she wanted. Her mom had died young from breast cancer, and we'd stepped in to help her since she was 18. Let her live in our guest room for almost a year. Helped her get into community college. Bought her textbooks. Paid for her wisdom teeth removal when she didn't have insurance. We were always there for her. I hadn't seen her in 2 weeks, but I remembered she'd come by asking if I had any old electronics to sell. I said no. She'd looked irritated and left pretty quickly. I texted her. Hey Ash, call me when you can. It's important. No response. A day passed. Then 2. I called, straight to voicemail. So I drove to the apartment she shared with a friend on the west side of town. No answer at the door. A couple of newspapers were stuffed halfway under her doorframe. The kitchen window was cracked open. I knocked on the neighbor's door. He said she hadn't been around for a few days. Something felt wrong in my gut. I checked her Instagram. She'd been posting nonstop. Photos of cocktails, selfies with designer bags, and a story of her laughing in a hot tub with the caption, "Life's short. Spend someone else's money." It stopped me cold. I started taking screenshots. Back home, I laid it all out for Brian. He didn't want to believe it. Ashley was like a daughter to him. His sister had made him promise to look after her before she died, and he took that promise seriously. But even he couldn't deny the screenshots and the stories from our family. He knew the truth. I decided to bait her. I created a fake Telegram account with a new number and messaged her under the name Deborah, a made-up friend of mine. Hey, I heard you've been helping Aunt Jess. I'd like to pitch in if she still needs help. An hour later, I got a reply. OMG, thank you. She'd be super embarrassed if she knew I was asking on her behalf. Can you send it to this Cash App tag? Boom. Proof. She was still actively doing it. I gathered everything into a folder. Screenshots, payment records, message logs, her Cash App tag, and even her recent Instagram stories. Then I did something I really didn't want to do. I called Carl. Carl is my ex. We dated for a couple years back in the day and broke it off for good reasons, but we stayed on decent terms. He's a cybersecurity officer with the local police. He showed up that evening with his laptop and a USB stick. I gave him everything. He didn't say much for the first 10 minutes, just clicked and typed and raised an eyebrow once or twice. Then he turned to me. It's her, he said flatly. All of it. Same device fingerprint across platforms. She's not even using a VPN or a burner phone. She's operating from her apartment Wi-Fi and mobile data. This is textbook digital fraud. I swallowed. If you file a formal report, he added, it'll go on the record. Could lead to an arrest. You ready for that? I hesitated. This was Brian's niece. This was a girl I'd baked birthday cakes for and sat with in hospital waiting rooms. But she'd also stolen from people I loved and dragged my name through the mud. I'm not sure, I said. Let me talk to her first. Later that night, my phone rang. It was her. She sounded shaky. Aunt Jess, can I come over? I really need to talk. I told her to come. She showed up an hour later in tears, holding a cracked phone and looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was a mess, eyeliner smeared, and she had this half-panicked, half-defensive look on her face. I didn't mean for it to go like this, she said before I even opened my mouth. I thought I could pay it back. I swear. I didn't know everyone would freak out. I needed the money. I didn't say anything. I figured you wouldn't find out, she whispered. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I looked at her and said, calmly but firmly, you're going to pay every single cent back, or I'm taking all of this to the police. Her eyes widened. She looked betrayed. You wouldn't, she said. Your family. And that's the only reason I'm giving you a chance to fix this. She didn't respond. The next day, my Uncle Sam called. He told me he had gotten a message from Ashley saying I was in a rehab clinic and needed help paying my stay. He'd sent her $800. That was it. That was the last straw. I went to the station and filed the report. Carl handled it professionally. He said a detective would follow up soon, but meanwhile they'd start tracking her digital activity. Ashley went silent after that. Deleted her socials. Turned off her phone. The police tried to find her, but she was gone. A week later, Carl called again. Last ping from her phone was in Miami. She's running. Brian was heartbroken. I was furious. But more than anything, I felt violated. I started warning people, family, coworkers, old friends. I made a post on Facebook and sent it privately to anyone I thought could have been contacted. If you received a message asking for money on my behalf, it wasn't me. It was Ashley. She committed fraud. The reactions were mixed. Some people forgave me immediately. Others were angry. A few clearly didn't believe me and thought I'd been in on it. That stung. But it wasn't over. Ashley was gone, but the consequences of what she did were just beginning. After filing the police report, I thought I had unearthed the full extent of Ashley's scheme. I was wrong. What I initially believed was a desperate act of impulsive fraud turned out to be something else entirely, premeditated, methodical, and worst of all, expanding. The first sign came 2 days after I made that Facebook post warning friends and family. I got a call from a woman named Clara Soto, a distant acquaintance I hadn't spoken to in over 5 years. She used to manage the daycare center where I worked part-time during college. I barely remembered her until she said her name. "I don't know if you remember me," she said, her voice strained. "But I wanted to check in on you and your mom. I sent something last week, and now I'm not sure if it was even real." I was immediately on alert. "What exactly did you send?" I asked, grabbing my notebook again. She sighed. "I got a very emotional email from your Gmail. It said your mother had a stroke and you were struggling to afford a home nurse. It gave me a Zelle ID and asked if I could help even a little. I sent $300. I just wanted to make sure it reached you." I stared at the wall in disbelief. "My mom is fine," I said slowly. "She's been in Palm Springs all week visiting my uncle. She didn't have a stroke." And I never sent any email. There was a long pause before Clara finally said, "I had a bad feeling. I wish I'd called earlier." That was the first time I realized Ashley had impersonated me using an email address. The thing was, I'd never emailed Clara in my life. Not even when I worked at the daycare. That meant Ashley had gone looking for her contact info deliberately. Or worse, she'd somehow gotten into my inbox. I called Carl again. Told him everything. He came back with more equipment, and we started checking my devices. My actual Gmail account was secure. Thankfully, two-factor protected, no signs of access. But then he had me run a search of my name on social media and free email services. We found 5 Gmail accounts that used variations of my name. Jessica.t.holloway.help@gmail.com, antijess.nitsu@gmail.com, realjessica.urgent@gmail.com, jess.followup24@gmail.com, jolloway.recoveryfund@gmail.com, all created within the past 2 months. Carl traced them through metadata from forwarded emails that Clara had sent me, along with a few others that surfaced later. All roads led back to the same IP address Ashley had been using in her apartment. She had crafted fake versions of me. I started making a list of everyone she might have contacted. I wrote down every old friend, coworker, extended family member, or acquaintance who could have believed a desperate message from Jessica. I added the names of parents from my daughter's old PDA meetings, church acquaintances, and even a few ex-coworkers from the hospital billing office I used to work at. Within 24 hours, I had found 6 more people who'd been contacted. All thought they were helping me. All were tricked. Clara Soto, $300 via Zelle. Tina Rakesh, a nurse I worked with in 2014, sent $200 via Venmo. David and Rochelle Yancey, an older couple who lived next door to my mother 10 years ago, mailed a $500 cashier's check. Nora Tran, my high school classmate, wired $1,000 thinking I needed emergency dental surgery. Michael Kendrick, a guy I went on 2 dates with a decade ago, cashed out $400 after a message claimed my purse was stolen. Abby Johnson, my former gym buddy, donated $350 through PayPal for what she thought was cancer treatment. Sister Margaret, a nun from our old church, gave $150 in person to a friend of Jessica's, who showed up at her parish pretending to collect on my behalf. 7 people. Over $2,900 more stolen. And Sister Margaret's case chilled me to the bone. Ashley showed up in person? I asked her on the phone, barely able to breathe. "She never gave a name," Sister Margaret said gently. "But she said she knew you. That you were ashamed to come to the church yourself. She even brought a prayer card with your name written on the back." I didn't question her. That's when I realized Ashley wasn't just hiding behind screens. She'd printed materials. Faked handwriting. She'd impersonated me face to face. I drove straight to the church, and they showed me the security footage. It was Ashley. Wearing a hoodie, a baseball cap. No makeup. But it was unmistakably her. She even wore sunglasses indoors. I broke down crying in the parking lot. Carl tried to stay level-headed, but I could tell it rattled him too. "She's escalating," he said. "This isn't just fraud. This is identity theft. This is dangerous." He helped me log and back up all 7 cases. We created an evidence packet for each one. The police were now treating it as part of an ongoing investigation, but with Ashley off the grid, there was no one to confront. Brian was sinking deeper into guilt and silence. He blamed himself. He hadn't believed me at first. He thought I was being harsh. But now, even he had to face that Ashley was manipulating us all. The worst part was knowing she'd probably planned this for months. The fake emails, phone numbers, and social media accounts hadn't just been thrown together. They were calculated. She'd created backstories, reused photos from my real Facebook page. Even the writing style she used in the messages matched mine. She must have copied my old texts or posts to mimic my tone. And then came the phone calls. Tina Rakesh, the nurse, sent me a voice memo from a strange number that had called her. It was a voicemail from me. The voice was calm, slightly raspy, and cracking like I'd been crying. It said, "Hi Tina. I hate asking, but I'm in a really tight spot. I can't talk long, I'm borrowing a phone, but I need help. Please, if you can spare anything, I'll send you my details. God bless you." Carl analyzed the voice. It was Ashley, distorted slightly by a filter. She'd practiced sounding like me. I felt sick to my stomach. That meant she'd called other people too. I had no idea how many voicemails were floating around, convincing people I was destitute, dying, or desperate. Carl found 6 fake phone numbers registered through anonymous VoIP services. All prepaid. All routed through apps like TextNow and Hushed. I called each one. Only one picked up. No voice, just silence. Then a click. Disconnected. Carl was able to subpoena 2 of the services with the help of the cybercrimes unit. Both traced back again to Ashley's previous location. One of the burner numbers had been used to call the Yanceys 5 times over 2 weeks. She really worked these people, I whispered, staring at the call logs. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a campaign. Ashley had studied my life like a subject. Memorized who I knew, how I spoke, what kind of emergencies would sound believable coming from me. She faked timelines. Told Rochelle Yancey that I'd been hit by a drunk driver. Told Abby Johnson I had cervical cancer. Told Nora that my daughter had been hospitalized after a seizure. The lies weren't random. They were carefully chosen for emotional impact. And she didn't just steal money. She stole trust. My relationship started to crumble. I got side-eyed at the grocery store. Whispers at the church. A few unsubtle comments on Facebook from people who didn't see the follow-up post explaining the scam. People who thought I was Ashley. Or worse, that we were in on it together. "You're her aunt. You probably raised her to be like this," someone commented on a local forum. Carl told me to lie low and keep gathering information. But I didn't want to hide. I wanted people to know what she'd done. So I printed out photos from the church surveillance camera and made a new post. "If you've been contacted by someone claiming to be me, by email, text, or in person, please let me know. This individual is my niece Ashley Holloway. She is impersonating me using fake phone numbers and accounts. This is an active police investigation." Within 12 hours, I had 19 messages in my inbox. Some were just supportive. Others were from people who had almost sent money and stopped short. One was from a woman named Lorna who said she met Jessica outside a Walgreens asking for help with a child's inhaler prescription. She said her daughter's asthma meds were too expensive and she didn't have insurance, Lorna wrote. She showed me a photo of a little girl. Ashley had used a photo of my daughter. She'd saved it from my private Instagram and used it as a prop. I completely broke down that night. Brian held me while I shook and cried until my throat hurt. My little girl, used like a prop in a con. I don't know how Ashley turned into this. I don't know what she thinks she's doing. But what I do know is that she didn't just steal $5,000. She stole my name. By the time I decided to contact Diana, I had every receipt, message, and screenshot organized into labeled folders on my laptop and backed up to 3 cloud drives. I didn't make that decision lightly. Diana and I were never particularly close. She's Brian's half-sister, Ashley's mom, and someone I had long considered more of a hurricane than a person. But she was Ashley's mother, and after everything that had happened, I thought maybe, just maybe, she could talk some sense into her daughter. Diana had moved to Augusta a few years back after remarrying a man named Lennox, who ran a used car dealership. Their marriage was turbulent, from what I'd heard. Lots of screaming behind closed doors and weirdly curated Facebook photos of vacations that never seemed to happen. Still, I reached out. I figured Diana deserved to know. I texted her first. "Diana, I need to talk to you about Ashley. It's serious. Please call me when you can." She responded an hour later with a heart emoji and a thumbs up. That was not the reaction I was hoping for. So I called her. She picked up with a half-distracted voice, as if I had interrupted a pedicure. "Jessie. Hey, how are you? We just got back from Charleston. Lennox surprised me with a spa weekend." I didn't bother with small talk. "I need to talk to you about Ashley," I said, already bracing myself. "She's in serious trouble. It's about the money she stole. She's been impersonating me. Lying to people. 7 victims that I know of." There was a long pause. "Then what?" I gave her a summary. No drama, just the facts. The fake emails. The burner phones. The video of her at Sister Margaret's church. The messages from people who sent money. I even told her about the voicemail Ashley had sent to Tina, a digitally altered impersonation of my voice. When I finished, there was a short silence, and then she laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, come on, Jess," she said. "Ashley? That's ridiculous. She wouldn't do that." "She did do that, Diana," I said louder than I intended. "I have proof." "No. What you have is a bunch of misunderstandings and coincidences," she said, suddenly adopting a cold, clipped tone. "Ashley told me what happened. She said you were accusing her of something she had nothing to do with, and now you're trying to get her arrested. She told you that? She said you were having some kind of breakdown. That you think she's scamming people and she doesn't know why you're coming after her. That stung. I couldn't believe it. Ashley was already one step ahead, painting me as the crazy one. She showed up at your church in sunglasses to collect cash from a nun, Diana. I snapped. Do you think that's something a normal, innocent girl does? She told me that was her friend Kendra, Diana said defensively. She said you're twisting everything because you're jealous. I laughed, shocked. Jealous of what? She said you've always resented how close she is with Brian. That you think she's trying to replace the daughter you never had. I was stunned into silence. For a moment, I actually didn't know what to say. You know what? I finally said. You're choosing to believe a fantasy over evidence. I have physical, digital, and eyewitness proof. And instead of facing it, you're blaming me. I'm not blaming anyone, Diana replied. I'm saying this all feels very off. Ashley's a good girl. She's just emotional. She's been through a lot. You know she's sensitive. Sensitive. That word made my stomach churn. Ashley wasn't sensitive. She was manipulative. She weaponized her image of fragility like a scalpel. She cried when it was convenient, collapsed into victimhood the second she was caught. But Diana couldn't, or wouldn't, see it. I decided to send her the proof anyway. I emailed everything, the screenshots, the video stills, the voicemail file, even a copy of the police report I had filed. I watched the read receipts ping in one by one. 15 minutes later, I got a reply. I watched it. I still don't believe she meant to hurt anyone. She's scared. You should talk to her directly. She's confused. She says you made her say things she didn't even understand. Now Ashley was telling her mother I manipulated her testimony? It didn't end there. That same evening, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Jessica Holloway, the voice said. Male, young, maybe early 20s. Yes, who's this? My name's Marcus. Ashley's friend. She said you've been threatening her. Said you tried to get her arrested. I think you should back off. My mouth dropped open. Excuse me. She's going through a lot. I don't think you get that. She said you're twisting things to make her look bad. I hung up. Minutes later, another number called. I didn't answer that one. Then another. A woman this time. You're trying to destroy a young woman's life over what? A few misunderstandings. Diana was rallying people. Ashley's friends, cousins, even some of Diana's Facebook followers started messaging me. Half of them were strangers. A few were veiled threats. You're going to regret this. She has more people on her side than you think. I blocked over 30 numbers in one weekend. Carl advised me to start a record of everything. Messages, calls, voicemails, emails. He even helped me get a temporary restraining order against Ashley and any known associates from contacting me directly. And that's when I got a knock on my door. It was Sunday. I was in the middle of laundry when someone pounded hard on the front door. I looked through the peephole and saw Diana. And Lennox. I opened the door just a crack. We need to talk, Diana said, her jaw tight. She pushed past me without being invited in, followed by her lumbering husband who reeked of cologne and stale cigar smoke. You don't get to ambush me, I snapped, but they were already in my living room. She's falling apart, Diana said, arms crossed. She's scared. She's crying every night. She thinks you're out to destroy her. She is destroying other people, I said. She stole thousands of dollars. From the elderly. From cancer patients. From people who thought they were helping me. How can you still defend this? She's a kid. She's 23. She didn't mean to hurt anyone. She printed out photos of my daughter and used them to get money in a Walgreens parking lot, I said, my voice shaking. She used my child. Lennox finally spoke up, his voice low and annoyed. Look, maybe she made a mistake. Maybe she got in over her head. But dragging your own family through court over this? That's low. I turned to Diana. You want me to drop the charges? I want you to stop demonizing her. I want her to stop committing fraud. For a second, I thought Diana might cry. But she didn't. She just shook her head like I had disappointed her. She's not strong like you, Jessica, she said. You've always had your life together. She doesn't have that. She didn't know how to ask for help. She could have asked me for anything. She chose to impersonate me instead. They left without saying goodbye. The front door slammed behind them, rattling the picture frames in the hall. That night, I got another email. From one of Ashley's burner accounts. Subject line. You win. Body text. I guess you're proud of yourself. I hope destroying me was worth it. I was just trying to survive. But I see how it is now. Congratulations. I stared at it for 10 minutes. No apology. No admission. Just another performance. Another curtain drawn over the same rotten stage. And Diana, still applauding from the front row. After the confrontation with Diana, I knew reasoning with family was off the table. I also knew I couldn't rely on emotional appeals or social pressure anymore. Ashley had too many enablers and far too much nerve. She wasn't just deflecting. She was actively painting herself as the victim. Diana's blind loyalty made it worse, and her weird entourage of Ashley's friends was creating noise I didn't have the strength to block out. So I decided to get undeniable proof. Not the kind that could be waved away with excuses like coincidence or misunderstanding. No. This had to be the kind of evidence that slammed the door shut behind her. That's when I called Amber. Amber's been my best friend since we were in ninth grade. She's sharp, sarcastic, and works in IT security for a mid-sized law firm. She's also fiercely loyal and has absolutely no patience for bullshit. When I told her everything, she didn't ask why I hadn't come to her sooner. She just said, "Let's bait the little parasite." We sat down at her apartment over wine and mapped it out. Amber had burner phones, multiple email aliases, and access to software that could simulate location data if we needed to fake where a message was coming from. We invented a fake cousin, Darla Holloway. Middle-aged, slightly out of touch, a retired teacher with some inheritance money and a big heart. Someone gullible enough to believe Ashley's lies and knew enough to not be part of our immediate family web. Amber created the persona. New Gmail address, darla.holloway.retired@gmail.com. She set up a modest-looking Facebook profile using AI-generated images to avoid any traceable links to real people. The posts were perfect. Prayer chain shares, old church photos, vague comments about Florida weather. We even added 2 fake adult children, Cody and Shauna, complete with their own barely filled profiles. Then we waited. 3 days later, Amber, as Darla, posted a status update. "Can't believe what I'm hearing about poor Jessica. What a mess. If anyone knows how I can help, please message me privately." An hour passed. Nothing. Then 3. Then, around 6:40 p.m., a message landed in the inbox. From a.holloway.connects@gmail.com. "Hi Darla, this is Ashley, Jessica's niece. I'm helping her manage some things right now because she's still in a bit of a situation. She wouldn't want me saying this, but she could really use some help. She's too proud to ask herself. I know she'd be grateful if you could spare anything. I can send you the info." There it was. Hook, line, and sinker. Amber grinned. She fell for it in less than a day. We replied carefully, casually, like a confused older woman would. Amber played it to perfection. Darla asked gentle questions, acted unsure, even wrote a few messages with overly polite phrasing and inconsistent grammar to make the character believable. Ashley responded immediately each time. By the next day, she was spoon-feeding the lie. She had to move out of her apartment. She's been staying with a friend from church, but it's not stable. She hasn't told most of the family because she's ashamed. She doesn't want them to worry. "If you're okay sending anything, I'll handle it for her." Amber then asked for payment options. Ashley replied with a bank account and routing number. The name on the account? A. Holloway. Not even a fake name. She had sent her real account information. Amber didn't respond right away. We let the line go quiet for a few hours. Then Darla messaged again, saying she was going to the bank the next morning and asking for confirmation on how much Jessica needed. Ashley responded in minutes. Even $500 would be amazing. It would cover part of what she owes her doctor. There was no doctor. We screen recorded everything. Every click. Every typed word. Amber traced the IP address through the email headers. Same city where Ashley had last been seen. The device signature matched one from her prior email. Then we took it a step further. Amber had a friend named Dion, a former bounty hunter turned digital forensics consultant. Dion ran the account number Ashley had sent through a contact at a credit union fraud department. It was active and had received multiple small deposits under $1,000 in the past 30 days, classic laundering amounts to avoid automatic fraud flags. He also found something else. The account was linked to an alternate email, jessicarelief2024@gmail.com. Ashley had set up a dummy alias as me. There was no more wiggle room. This was it. The trap had worked. We had time-stamped correspondence, direct confirmation of bank details, and an on-record request for money under false pretenses. The account name was hers. The email addresses were hers. And most importantly, this contact came unprompted. She found Darla. She approached. She incriminated herself. Amber and I stayed up most of the night building the final package. I labeled each part. Phase 1. Contact initiation. Phase 2. Narrative building. Phase 3. Request and details. Phase 4. Bank information and confirmation. We included metadata, IP traces, voice memo logs from other victims, and copies of all previous reports. It was over 200 pages long once everything was compiled. The next day, I met with Officer Tierney, a fraud specialist from the Financial Crimes Unit. Carl had referred her weeks earlier, but this was our first face-to-face meeting. I handed her the flash drive. She plugged it in, scanned a few folders, and let out a low whistle. "This is meticulous," she said. "You should be working for us." I didn't smile. "I want her charged," I said. "And I want this stopped." Tierney nodded. "You may just get your wish." That night, something odd happened. Ashley messaged Darla again. "Hey, just checking in. Did you go to the bank today? Let me know. Hope you're okay." Amber and I watched the message together. We said nothing. Then she typed back. "Jessica is with me now. She's reading everything. You're done." Ashley didn't respond. She deleted the account 15 minutes later. We have this family group chat. Holloway Hearts started years ago after my cousin Gina had a baby and wanted a way to share photos without blasting Facebook. It was supposed to be a casual thread. Birthdays, prayer requests, vague family updates. Occasionally someone posted a casserole recipe or asked if anyone remembered what year Grandma Doreen's roof collapsed. That kind of thing. Until now, it had mostly stayed civil. But everything changed on a rainy Thursday afternoon when I dropped the bombshell into that chat. I didn't want to do it publicly at first. I tried warning people individually, but I realized there were too many, and Ashley's manipulations weren't slowing down. She was still contacting people, and with what Amber and I had gathered, I couldn't stay quiet. So I posted a screenshot of the fake bank info, a redacted copy of the police report, and then a short message. If Ashley has contacted you asking for money, under my name or anyone else's, please say something. She's been scamming us. I'm sorry it's come to this, but everyone deserves the truth. Silence for about 3 minutes. Then it erupted. First was Uncle Ray, always the loudest of the Holloways, who responded with, "Wait, what? She asked us for money last month. Said your husband was in the hospital after a fall at work. We sent $400. What the hell, Jess?" I replied, "That didn't happen. Brian's fine. She made that up." Then came Aunt Lily, who said she was asked for help with medical bills after Jess had a miscarriage. I sent $250 through Zelle. I never said anything because it felt private. "I thought you were grieving." I nearly dropped the phone. It kept going. "Cousin Tommy, she told me your house had a gas leak. I PayPal'd her $150 to help cover repairs. My sister-in-law Marcy, I gave her $300 to help you relocate after the break-in. Doreen Jr., our grandma's namesake, she said you were being evicted. Uncle Frank, she used your daughter's name, Jessica. Said Natalie needed tutoring because she was failing school. We sent $200. Tia, my niece through Brian's side, chimed in last. She said you were in debt and wouldn't ask for help because you were ashamed. I gave $500. I feel so stupid. In the span of 14 minutes, 6 more people admitted they'd been defrauded. The total passed $4,000 before I even had time to count. But the emotional cost? That number was impossible to calculate. These were people I loved. Some of them I'd known since I was 5. And Ashley had pulled this mask and dagger routine right under their noses, using tragedies that never happened, manipulating family trauma, even invoking my daughter's name. I stared at the screen, my stomach hollowing out. Then, as expected, Diana chimed in. "Okay, let's just slow down here. Everyone breathe. This is clearly a misunderstanding. Ashley's been through a lot lately and people are twisting things." The anger was immediate. "Tommy, misunderstanding. I sent her $150. What part of that is unclear? Lily, she lied about a miscarriage. That's not something you accidentally do. Frank, you raised a liar. We all feel conned. And you're defending her. Doreen Jr., this isn't about feelings. It's fraud." Diana doubled down. "She never meant harm. She told me Jessica told her it was okay. That she was helping pass along donations. Maybe she got confused. You're all ganging up on her." Then someone, I don't know who, dropped a screenshot. It was from Ashley's old Facebook before she deleted it. The one with the caption, "Life's short. Spend someone else's money." The chat exploded again. I stopped replying for a while. I just watched. Old tensions boiled over. Ancient sibling rivalries reignited. Uncle Ray brought up how Diana always protected Ashley, even when she keyed my truck in 2016. Aunt Lily reminded everyone that Ashley faked mono in college to skip finals, something Diana had covered up. Even Cousin Heather, who rarely says anything beyond happy birthday once a year, chimed in to say Ashley once tried to scam her out of concert tickets in 2018. Diana finally lost it. "Y'all are a bunch of jealous hypocrites. Ashley made some mistakes, but at least she's not like half this family, addicted to pills, cheating on their spouses, or secretly unemployed." There was a stunned silence. Then, "Tommy, Diana, shut up." The chat fell apart after that. People left the group. Notifications were flying. Cousin Greg renamed it Holloway Hell Pit for 5 minutes before deleting it entirely. I watched as years of family ties unraveled like cheap string. But what stood out wasn't just the anger. It was the pattern. Ashley hadn't just lied randomly. She targeted people she knew were emotional. People who were struggling with their own issues. Lily had lost a baby 10 years earlier. Of course she'd fall for the miscarriage story. Uncle Frank's son had a learning disability he'd empathize with, tutoring needs. Every lie was tailored, premeditated, cruelly calculated. She studied us all like prey. That night, Amber came over with snacks and her laptop. She didn't even knock, just walked in like usual and dumped 2 bags of chips and a Diet Coke on my table. "You okay?" she asked. I didn't answer. I just handed her my phone and let her scroll through the screenshots of the chat thread. She read in silence for a while. Then she said, "She's cooked." I nodded. "She's not just hated," I said. "She's radioactive now." The next day, I started getting private calls. Cousin Heather offered to testify. Uncle Frank said he was sending everything he had to the police. Aunt Lily, soft-spoken, gentle Lily, said she was done defending anybody who spits on our trust like this. Diana, meanwhile, went silent. For about 48 hours, we heard nothing. No messages. No apologies. Then, out of nowhere, she sent a massive group email titled, "Before You Judge." It was 5 paragraphs of self-pity. She talked about how hard it was to raise Ashley alone, how broken homes create broken people, and how some of you have always wanted Ashley to fail. She claimed the money was going toward medical debts and legal stress and emotional breakdowns. She said Ashley was trying to survive in a harsh world and blamed the rest of the family for being cold and unforgiving. She didn't deny the fraud. She just excused it. No one responded. Except one person. My dad. He replied to all. Diana, we watched your daughter lie, steal, manipulate. And you covered it up. You should be ashamed. We raised you better than this. It was the most uncharacteristic thing he'd ever written. My dad doesn't curse. Doesn't pick sides. But I guess this had crossed even his threshold. And that's when Diana lost the family. Not when Ashley stole the money. Not when Ashley used my name. But when Diana chose lies over accountability. That was the real fracture point. The fallout wasn't just emotional. People pulled back. Several family members blocked Diana entirely. Others removed her from Facebook. Ray said she wasn't invited to Thanksgiving. Cousin Gina, who started the group chat in the first place, deleted all Ashley-related photos from her shared albums and posted a message. Our family deserves honesty, not manipulation. I don't think I've ever seen anything implode so completely. But maybe that was the point. Sometimes it takes a detonation to see what was rotten beneath the surface. Ashley used our love as a weapon. Diana handed her the bullets. It started the following Monday. Aunt Lily was the first to act. After everything came out in the group chat, all the money stolen, all the lies, all the excuses from Diana, she walked straight into the Augusta Police Department with a printout of every single message Ashley had sent her. Lily, who once cried when she hit a squirrel on the road, told me she sat stone-faced across from the intake officer and said, "My niece committed fraud." I want it on record. She wasn't the only one. Cousin Tommy went 2 days later. Then Uncle Frank. Even Heather, who had only lost $50 in the grand scheme of things, filed her own report because, in her words, that girl needs to learn that stealing is still stealing. By the end of the week, there were 7 active reports filed against Ashley in 3 different counties. And once those reports hit the system, especially with attached screenshots, text logs, and email headers, they began to connect the dots. The officer I'd worked with, Detective Tierney, called to let me know that with the bank information Ashley had sent to Darla, they were able to flag her account for suspicious activity. Apparently, the moment her balance dipped below $100 and another transfer attempt came through from some new contact, the bank froze her account entirely. Tierney didn't say which contact triggered it, but I had a hunch. I'd heard through the grapevine, specifically through Amber's deep-dive Reddit-level sleuthing, that Ashley had recently reached out to our old church friend, Nadine Alvarez, asking if she could invest in a wellness startup. According to Nadine, the pitch came through a brand new Gmail, healingfundsglobal@gmail.com, and included a link to what Ashley called her new ethical online store. The site, titled Sagepath Collective, looked like it had been made in under an hour using a free template builder. It featured stock photos of candles, yoga mats, crystals, and a strange bio that said the store was founded by a survivor of medical debt and generational trauma. No name, no physical address, no contact number, just a PayPal button that redirected to a business account under Holloway Services, LLC. Amber and I took screenshots of everything before it inevitably disappeared. Ashley had pivoted to a new scam. And just like before, it wasn't well thought out. A day after launching the site, she spammed her old Instagram followers with private messages asking them to support a survivor-owned wellness brand. She even made a series of stories crying on camera, mascara running, voice shaking, about how haters were trying to tear down her business because she was a young woman healing from toxic family systems. The performance might have convinced some people, if not for the dozens of comments that followed. Didn't you scam your own grandma? This store is a fraud. No contact info, no return policy. You used your aunt's identity to steal thousands. Now you want to sell candles. Ashley shut down the comments, disabled her DMs, and deleted the post about Sagepath within 24 hours. The store vanished by the end of the week. The PayPal button no longer worked, and the business account it linked to was suspended. According to Detective Tierney, the bank had flagged that account as well. Apparently, Holloway Services had been opened under Ashley's name less than a month earlier and was already being investigated for a string of chargebacks. She didn't stop there. A few days later, Amber called me laughing hysterically. "You're not going to believe this," she said. "She's posting fake job ads." "What?" I asked, already exhausted. She made a whole new Instagram account. At Remo12hub. It's one of those scammy-looking ones. Pastel graphics, quotes about financial freedom, pictures of beach laptops and smoothie bowls. And she's advertising virtual assistant openings with a $500 startup fee. What kind of person would fall for that? Desperate people, Amber said. Single moms. Students. The same kind of people she always targets. Amber had already contacted one of the commenters, a woman named Jules Hartley, who had messaged the account thinking it was a real opportunity. Jules was a 28-year-old mom of 2 who had lost her job during a restaurant closure. She told Amber that the onboarding email from Remote Wealth Hub asked her to secure her role by paying a $500 processing fee via Zelle to a name she didn't recognize, Age Consulting. Amber pulled the metadata. It was Ashley again. Different shell name. Same tactics. This time, I went straight to Detective Tierney with it. She was already preparing a full report for the district prosecutor, and she said the fake job postings, combined with the bank fraud and impersonation, could tip the charges into felony territory if enough people filed claims. And people were beginning to talk. Within days of Jules posting about her experience in a Facebook group for job seekers, 4 other women replied with screenshots of the same pitch, word for word. One even said she'd sent money. Another reported it to Instagram, which quickly disabled the account. That was 3 failed schemes in under 10 days. And Ashley? She kept running her mouth online. Not under her own name, of course. She switched to burner accounts, weird usernames, often quoting pop lyrics or vague self-help slogans. But the language was unmistakable. Amber tracked at least 3 accounts that had the same typing patterns, same spacing, same emotional outbursts. One of them, at Truth-Teller Warrior, commented on a Reddit thread about cancel culture ruining young entrepreneurs and said, "People twist your story when they're jealous of your potential. One mistake doesn't define a person." Especially when that person was trying to help others. Ashley had graduated from denial to martyrdom. Meanwhile, her digital footprint was collapsing around her. The banks froze her primary and secondary accounts. The PayPal was shut down. Venmo restricted her activity. Even Cash App flagged her tag for unusual behavior. I found out from Carl that the fraud division of one of the banks, SunTrust, had reported her profile to a national database that shares information between institutions, meaning she couldn't just open a new account under her name without triggering a security review. "She's boxed in," he said simply. "No more accounts, no more aliases. If she wants to make $1, it's going to be with cash or under the table." But even that wasn't easy for her now. By this point, Amber had created a basic landing page, Ashley Holloway fraud info, with public statements from victims, a summary of the case, and verified links for reporting further instances of impersonation. We had it indexed. So now, anytime someone searched Ashley Holloway scam or Ashley Holloway job post, it appeared on the first page of Google. She tried to flag the site through a DMCA takedown. It didn't work. The content was factual and non-defamatory. Amber had dotted every I. That week, I received a voicemail from an unfamiliar number. I almost didn't check it, but something made me hit play. Ashley's voice. Again. But this time she wasn't angry. She was quiet. Low. "Jess, I know you hate me, but I don't know what to do. I can't get a job. No one will let me open a bank account. I don't have anywhere to go. I don't know how it got like this. I'm sorry, okay?" I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Detective Tierney instead. She told me Ashley's arrest warrant was almost ready. It didn't end with the fake job ads. You'd think after 3 exposed scams, bank freezes, and a pending arrest warrant, Ashley would finally stop. But no, she had one more scheme up her sleeve. One that finally, completely, burned the last thread of trust she had left in this family. It started with a text to my cousin Gina. The message came from an unfamiliar number, written in a panicked, almost desperate tone. "Hey, it's Ash. I know this is crazy, but I'm in danger. Please don't tell anyone. I'll explain everything, but I need your help. Please." Gina, bless her heart, forwarded it to me before responding. I told her, "Say nothing. Let me show you something first." I sent her the complete folder I'd kept. Screenshots, voice notes, email headers, social posts, everything. Gina sat with it for 2 hours and didn't reply. But later that night, I got one short message from her. "I'm done with her." Turns out, Ashley had claimed she was being followed by someone from the fraud case, that she had dangerous people after her because someone leaked her information. She told Gina that she was hiding out in Tennessee and needed help to pay for a private Airbnb so she wouldn't be found. She framed it as witness protection, like she was the victim of some sinister plot. She was trying to flip the narrative. But she'd gone to the wrong person. Gina's husband, Rob, works in real estate. They looked up the property Ashley had listed in the link she'd sent, an Airbnb in Memphis, and discovered something that made my skin crawl. Ashley had created the listing herself, under a fake name, Lynette Walsh. The host bio photo was just a heavily filtered, blurred image of her own face with a different hairstyle. The listing claimed it was a safe, private rental for female guests escaping domestic trauma. She was scamming people under the guise of being a shelter. We don't even know how many actual vulnerable women she tricked with that. That information, according to Detective Tierney, was being forwarded to a different agency for investigation. There were indications that 2 separate guests had booked the space and were now filing their own complaints for being misled and exploited. That was the final exposure. Amber added the Airbnb fraud to our public archive site. The traffic doubled, then tripled. A freelance blogger picked it up, and within days a small local digital magazine ran a feature titled, "From Family Fraud to Fake Shelters, The Scandal of Ashley Holloway." The article didn't hold back. They interviewed victims, showed photos of Ashley's now-deleted Instagram, and even included statements from family members. The author called her behavior a masterclass in manipulation until it fell apart. After that, Ashley's name was poison. One by one, every last trace of her started disappearing from the internet. Her Instagram gone. Her backup accounts? Deactivated. LinkedIn, Facebook, Pinterest, all wiped. The Remote Wealth Hub page was shut down by the host for violating terms. Even her old Medium blog, where she used to post melodramatic essays about healing and female empowerment, was deleted. She vanished. She didn't post, didn't call, didn't email. Not even to Diana. For almost 2 weeks, it was radio silence. And then came the silence from everyone else. Diana, who had been loud and defensive for months, suddenly stopped replying to messages. Her Facebook page, once filled with updates about Ashley's journey and fake friends showing their true colors, went dark. Some people tried to reach her. I didn't. But I heard from cousin Heather that Diana had closed her joint checking account with Ashley and blocked her from her phone. The final straw had apparently been when a collections agency called Diana's house looking for Lynette Walsh. It was Ashley's debt from the Airbnb account she had routed through a fake LLC under that name, and Diana had co-signed a P.O. box. They were coming for her now, too. That's when she pulled the plug. She removed Ashley from all family contacts. Told everyone she was taking space to deal with things privately. But the reality was clear. Diana had finally seen the consequences land at her own doorstep. Ashley lost everything. My cousin Tia blocked her. Uncle Ray warned her never to show up at his property again. Aunt Lily told me she burned a box of old letters Ashley had written as a child. To make space, she said, for something cleaner. Even the people who had hesitated before, the cousins who had once said maybe Ashley just needed help, now turned away without looking back. No one believed her anymore. Not after the shelter scam. Not after she used broken women as bait. And me? I finally let go of the anger. It didn't happen in some magical, tearful release. It was slow, like a wound healing from the inside. One morning I realized I hadn't checked my Ashley folder in 3 days. Then I forgot to open the tracker Amber made for scam alerts. I stopped refreshing old burner accounts. I stopped reading the comments. I started walking in the mornings again. Cooking more. I even brought back the Saturday dinner night with Brian, something we stopped doing when everything began unraveling. We went to the same little Italian place we always did, and for the first time in months, I wasn't checking my phone. I looked at him over a glass of wine and said, I think I'm done being mad. He just nodded. You don't have to carry her anymore, he said. We didn't say Ashley's name that night. She was gone. No one knew where she was, if she'd left the state, changed her name, or tried to find Newmark somewhere else. But for once, that wasn't my problem. Everyone had cut her off. No calls. No money. No support. Not even Diana. Whatever story Ashley was spinning now, it was without us. She'd run out of lines to recite, run out of people to betray, and run out of accounts to hide behind. There were no more doors to knock on. And I had finally closed mine.